Hi, hello, and welcome, or welcome back, I suppose. Probably a quick little review today. We're going to be looking at Finding Love at the Christmas Market by Joe Thomas. Really hope I've got that right. I'll correct myself if I'm wrong. I don't have the book on me because I finished it yesterday at the library, so I was like, well, might as well just return it there. But yeah, let's get on with it. I'm also unscripted today, so let's see how often I go off track. Because it's me, and we know this is likely. So, in terms of this book, I picked it up because at this time of year, I like things that are soft, simple, and comforting. And especially given the huge project I've just done, I didn't really want to be reading anything super dark or heavy or anything like that. This is just the time of year. And given the extra stuff, like I said, finishing that, I just wanted something soft, sweet, and simple. It's why Christmas movies that I gravitate towards are of the Hallmark movie variety. Just stuff that I can go, listen, I'm probably aware of what's going to happen here, and that's fine. This is just soft and comforting to me. And this just ticked all. Really? If you read the book, you'll realise why I stopped there, and you should. But it's a book that ticked all my boxes for what I'm looking for in this. And it's not just at this time of year. You know me, I love Lucy Diamond. I've mentioned her a million times. I love Beth O'Leary's books. There's stuff that is just like, this is a nice little slice of life to enter, and sometimes, but not always, in this case, yes, with a romantic element, and it's just great fun. So we have our lead character. She delivers ready meals to a residential set of flats for the elderly, and she's kind of got to know them as she's been making cakes for them, and one of the residents there has recently passed, and two, she's been speaking to somebody from this small village in Germany, which is the country that this woman was originally from. And this woman, she loved Christmas. She always thought it was that time of year that held a certain magic to it, and it's really a time for sharing your time with people that matter most to you. So she wanted her ashes scattered in Germany, so they take her ashes to the place where this guy that our lead character is from, and our story begins there. She's talking to him, he's ticking all of her boxes. She does have a list, and once she's there, she's going, yeah, this is going great, he's ticking all the boxes, but maybe there's something missing. And she meets a rival of his. So we have an old town and a new town. The OG guy that she's been talking to is from the new town. It's very industrial, and there isn't that homeliness to it. And we have the rival who runs his own little bake shop in the old town. It's a proper traditional Christmas market in the way that you might think of. Like I said, yes, this has a Hallmark movie element to it, but that's great. I love it. And you know what? By the end of the book, I was in tears. It wrote me in, and it gets super emotional at the end, and I was sobbing in the middle of the library. So I love that for me. I'll be totally honest, at first it took me a little bit to get into, while these types of books that are generally, easy going are, well, just that. Sometimes there's a feeling of like, okay, but is this going to be super by the number? And at first it felt a little bit like that was going to be the case, because it's just like, it feels like I've read this a million times, not in necessarily a comforting way. It was feeling a little bland. Because these books, they still have to do something to rope you in, even if they aren't the next sort of War and Peace kind of thing, right? I have a possible video coming up next year talking about that, how like pop fiction and this kind of stuff doesn't have to be the greatest, most highest of literary fiction, but that's fine. And also the other side of that where it's like, but it is still worthy of criticism. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about. Here, we're talking about, it took me a bit to get into because I was just like, I think I was finding my feet with the characters as well a little bit. And I got over that in a few chapters, honestly. They're really short chapters as well, as often is the case in books like this. You don't get super long chapters, like maybe 10 pages to 15 pages at most. And the first few chapters are really short, but maybe like chapter 3 or 4 I was like super into it, and I just had a lovely little Christmassy comforting time. I had my headphones on, I played some gentle carols and just like instrumental Christmassy music, and it just felt right for this time of year. If you're maybe visiting home, you forgot to bring something with you, and you don't really have any books that you're likely to read at home, nip down somewhere. You can probably find this or something else by Joe Thomas at a local Tesco or Smith's or something like that. It's genuinely worth just like a nice little comfort that you can easily make your way through in a few days. It's really easy to fall into this book. Like at first I was like, yeah, I'll read about 2 or 3 chapters at a time. Not each day, but I usually read like twice a day, because most of the time if I'm reading a book in a week, it's usually somewhere between 50 and 70 pages a day. So I usually then split it into 2 lots of reading because it's me, and if I try and do everything all at once, I'll just get bored and I will forget about it, and then I'm having to read hundreds of pages in one day, and that does me worse. But I actually wanted to read hundreds of pages with this. I read it in 3 days, I think. Like 3 or 4 sittings. Well, not sittings, 3 or 4 days. And it's about 350 pages long. So for me, reading that in, I know 3 or 4 days is like a long time for some people. Some people would see that and go, yeah, I can do that in a day. Well, I shouldn't. I was about to say I can't, but last month, if there's anything to go by, I can read a huge book in a day or two. Should I? God, no. No, I should not. I particularly loved those little moments that you get in these where you sort of know what's coming, because it, like, you know, these are, they're not much of a muchness. That's not quite right. That doesn't feel fair to the authors. But there are patterns being followed. I think that's fair to say. And that's what is comforting about these books. It's like, oh, we have this little bit here where you know that's the moment that things are changing for the good. Because there's usually a thing with this where it's like there's something a little bit tragic or very tragic or a mix of everything, and this is the case here. And it's just nice seeing the moment where everything starts coming together, and it's just really nice. The particular moment is where, I'm trying to keep this relatively spoiler free, but there's a moment where her and the rival are talking and saying, well, it's towards the end, and once you get there, it's like some things have gone wrong. She's trying to fix it, and he's like, well, we can't do this on their own. And then she just brings the whole group in, and it's just like, oh, my heart, I knew it was coming, because obviously, because that's what it is. It's this whole group of her and her old pensioner friends, and they're wonderful, and the personalities are just everything. I love characters more than plot, I think, a lot of the time. I mean, obviously you need a good plot. If the plot's dry, you're not getting anywhere, but I like character driven stories, and this really filled that joy center for me. I didn't like that phrase, but I'm not getting rid of it. It just really, it hit the spot for me, I think, is a better way of phrasing that. And I think it will for you too, if those are the sort of things you like, especially, like I said, this time of year. I mean, me, I'll read this January 1st to December 31st. I love these sorts of books. I just, you know, seasonally, I do think they're appropriate, especially because I'm likely to be inside a lot more. So I just want something that feels cozy and warm, and this book absolutely feels cozy and warm. Because, like, I'm either here, like, if I'm in like one place for the day, if I'm not like going out somewhere, I'm usually going to be here, or I'm going to be at the library. And while that's relatively true for the rest of the year as well, in terms of reading, I like going out and reading. I'll go to like a naturey kind of spot when the weather's good. But it's like, I'm not going anywhere right now. It's freezing cold. I won't be able to turn the pages with my mangled little hands because the cold does nothing good for them. And this just hit a nice, like I'm repeating myself, this is the thing that happens when I don't script, but I absolutely adored this. Her books may well become those, Joe Thomas's I mean, may well become ones that I seek out in the future and see what else she does, see if she just does Christmassy type stuff, or if she does more general romance fiction. So she reminds me of somebody who I read towards the end of last year. I read a book by, I believe her name is Karen Swan, and all of the books I've seen from her, from Swan, are Christmassy type ones, but I don't know if she does other stuff. So this year is not going to be the case, but in terms of reading other Christmas stuff, Joe Thomas and Karen Swan are soon becoming those sorts of people who I'm going to be on the lookout for. And I'm generally going to be on the lookout for outside of just the Christmas period because they're nice, they're cozy. If I want something easy to read, I'm going to be headed towards them. So, next week, we're going to be having another lovely little Christmassy time. Then the week after that, you're getting 2 videos. I know I mentioned this in my little decluttering video, but it's worth bringing up again. Just because some people will only watch the reviews. Not everybody's going to watch that decluttering video. I get it. That was mostly for me to make sure I actually did it. But, point is, next week, it's a book called Gifts. Actually, I think I have it here. Yeah, there it is. So we have Gifts by Laura Barnett. Maddie runs a bookshop on Market Square. She's struggling to choose a gift. A watch, a wine subscription, all too much. For her old school friend Peter, who's just moved back from London following a messy divorce. Peter doesn't have a clue to get for his teenage daughter Chloe. Furious with her mother, she's decided to up sticks and move to Kent with him, but he worries that he really doesn't know her at all. Chloe wants to buy something special for Irene, her grandmother and confidant who lives alone on the other side of town. Irene doesn't really get out much these days, but she'd really like to find the right gift for Alina, who's so much more than a carer really, always stops to chat for a bit and have a cup of tea even if it makes her late. And Alina, meanwhile, has her eye on something for... and I'm going to assume that's Maddie and it's like a big circle. This just seems, again, like with the book we've spoken about today, it's going to be comforting, it's going to be fun. I'm probably going to cry at some point because these books usually do make me cry. And I'm hoping there's a comedy kind of vibe to it because I like a little bit of fun. There were some real funny little moments in Finding Love at the Christmas Market. Just sweet old people shenanigans, and I love it. It reminded me of, is it The Switch? Yeah, The Switch by Beth O'Leary. The kind of old people getting away with things because they're old, and I love it. That just makes me so happy. So yeah, that's next week. The week after that, we have 2 kind of wrap-up videos. One, just a general, here's what I've read since the last wrap-up. And then talking about which ones are my favourites, that kind of thing. But just general favourites. And then that'll be on the Tuesday. And then on the Thursday, we will have the best of 2022. So I'll probably make that either a top 5 or a top 10. Depends how long I'm thinking of making that video. But it's me, so it'll probably be a top 10 because I can ramble for the life of me. And I'm already planning into the new year because I found at my local library a book that I have been meaning to read for quite a long time now. And I was so happy to find it at my library. I found Mouse, one of those books that's always on banned book lists and people get angry at. I can't imagine why. And I think under current climate, I think it's well worth picking up, talking about. That'll probably be quite an in-depth video as well. Either that or it'll just be me like crying for a few minutes because I'm just like, I'm in existential dread. I want to live in a nicer world. But we'll see. Shall we? So, earlier on in this channel, I was doing something because I haven't read from my shelf in fucking ages. It's been a lot of library books. So, I think we have 2 library books here. And so I can start getting a head start because I'm going to be reading... I'm going to be starting Gifts today. And I think it's only a couple hundred pages. Trying not to find the last line. So yeah, that's just under 200 pages. Mouse is actually, looks like it's about the same. And I will usually get through graphic novels quicker because I swear that's a graphic novel, right? Yeah. So I'll probably get through those within maybe a week or 2. Depends how quickly I'm, you know, reading. So, nothing's broken. It's just a pen pot fell over, which I didn't realise was leaning on this. So, new box full of all of the things, full of all of the titles that are on my shelf right now. There's only a couple that are missing, but that's because they're downstairs and I will go and get them eventually, but it's not the end of the world if I don't add them. I got them recently because I was out and I decided to get myself some new books as a little treat. But I have a few downstairs that are like new that I haven't added yet, but again, not the end of the world. So let's just start so I can get a bit of a... At least I know where I'm going, even if it's not a full head start. And I will probably be doing this every week. So, we have... Oh, actually, that's quite a good... I think that's quite early on. Yeah. Quite a good book for the beginning of the year. We have This Time Next Year by Sophie Cousins. Get ready to fall for this year's most incredible love story. Quinn and Minnie are born on New Year's Eve in the same hospital 1 minute apart. Their lives may begin together, but their worlds couldn't be more different. 30 years later, they find themselves together again in the same place at the same time. What if fate is trying to bring them together? Maybe it's time to take a chance on love. Feels like a good time to be starting that for pretty much the new year-ish. New Year's-ish will be doing. It'll be fine. So, go and get rid of that. So make sure I don't put it back. So yeah, that's the next few weeks planned out. And again, probably at the very least next week, I'll probably pull out another book. But I'm not going to be doing it too often because I don't know what. I need to start looking at my plans, and I have some other books downstairs, not my books I borrowed from a friend that I still haven't got through because there was fucking loads of them and I got overwhelmed and I had to change some plans this year. But anyway, we'll get things sorted. I will take a deep breath. I will actually plan some things out. So, I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful night, a wonderful whenever you are watching this. Take care of yourselves. Have a happy holidays. If I don't see you before Christmas, if you celebrate something else, have a wonderful time of year. I know this can be stressful, so please try and look after yourself as well as those around you. Really do take care of yourselves. Right.